Welcome to the June installment of Rise Up Writers Zoom calls, where we have Merri Dennis from WP Tech Cafe helping us with WordPress. She will be covering plugins and some of the basic things to know when you're considering a WordPress.com or .org website. I hope this video is helpful for you, and if you have questions or further help that you would like on WordPress, let us know at Rise Up Writers, or you can contact Merri Dennis at merrivdennis@gmail.com.
I'm going to, unless y'all have, if you have specific questions, I'm happy to answer any specific questions. I was just going to start with kind of a plugin walkthrough with the plugins that I like to use. And every plugin that you, this is my, one of my sites, this is the Tech Cafe site. Everything that you see is not something you need, but I'll just highlight the ones that I like to use. For anti-spam, instead of Akismet, which there's nothing wrong with Akismet, I just happen to use anti-spam B. And really the only reason I don't use Akismet is because you have to have a WordPress.com account, and they it's free, but they always try to get you to pay. And that's confusing to some people. So that's why I use anti-spam B. And then, let's see, really any contact form 7 is what I use just for a basic contact form. So people can, respond to you and send you a note on your, not send comments. This is just for a contact form. It is not the most user-friendly, but it works. It's been around for a long time, so it works with a lot of other add-ons and tools and stuff. Google Analytics by Monster Insights is how you connect, one of the ways you can connect your site to Google Analytics. And then along with all the GDPR stuff that's been happening, if you want to anonymize your IPs, meaning you're not tracking visitors by their specific IPs, you can do that so I'm in Monster Insights settings, and they have 2 tabs. There's a general tab and a tracking tab, and then demographics, and there's a place where you can check a box to anonymize IPs, and that's just one of the settings if you go through a GDPR thing. No, it just your site is still going to see all the IPs, so because you need that for not just spam tracking, but for WordFence or whichever security plugin you uses that to track. So it's just sending and I'm not going to be able to say this articulately, but it's okay to click this box and anonymize them, but you'll still get the anti-spam and security activities will still happen. So back to plugins.
And if you could also address why have a spam plugin, whether you use Akismet or the one that you recommended, what the benefit of, because one of the questions that we had was, what are the main plugins that we should consider? And I know sometimes people talk about having too many plugins, so it's really helpful to see some of these main ones that you prefer to use, and also helpful to know why would we use that particular one.
Anti-spam is just to keep you from getting a bunch of junk in your comments, is really as much as anything. that's really, you're going to get hit a couple of ways. You're going to get hit spam wise with comments with just a bunch of it's bots. It used to be real people, and it still looks like real people, but usually, and they add links in the comment form that could be, they're either links to their products or something, or they're malware links or just junk. So it's not they're not real comments, so you don't want them. And a Kismet or a anti-spam bee or some of the other anti-spam plugins just allow you to keep, it doesn't get rid of all of it, but it prevents most of it. So you're not having to go into your comments and clean out the trash and approve or disapprove of all your stuff. And then comments wise, where that is, we'll jump over to that topic real quick, is settings, discussion. I mean, this is where you can set, whether you can get comments, at all. And then a lot of times you'll end up getting a bunch of junk on old posts. So like one of the things you can do in settings is to like automatically close comments on articles older than 14. You can choose the number of days on that. And it kind of depends on how much traffic you get on your old stuff. And then even if you create a setting here, you can, but you have an older post that always gets a lot of traffic or comments, you can change the comment settings specifically for a post or a page to override anything that's in the discussion settings here. So back to plugins. So contact form, Google Analytics. This is my favorite little widget. So I'll click on the details so you can see what it looks like in the, it's a free widget in the WordPress repository. And it's not always updated with the very latest version, but which can be a warning sign. You do want something that's been, most of the time, that's updated to work with the latest version. But how this widget functions doesn't affect really anything related to the core WordPress plugin. And I just like it because it allows you to, and I'm going to go over here and show you in my widget settings. It just makes it very easy to add an image and add a link to it, add some text to it without having to write any code. So like this is an image widget right here. So I've used an image widget for this particular image widget is for a affiliate link, but it could be your anything you want. And then you can you can import the image just from the media library, just like you would do anything else. You can add a link to it. You can decide whether you want it, what size you want it to be. So if you uploaded your image exactly, you had a 250 by 250 square, and that's what you want it to be, you can just, say full size. And then you can align it based on how you have all the rest of your content aligned in your sidebar. So to me, it just makes it, it's just the simplest way to add an image widget.
Is this because, like when I first started doing WordPress, I know that when I wanted to add, for example, my profile photo above the fold on a widget, I had to host the actual photo for that. I think I used Photo Bucket, and then I had to have the code and everything to put into a widget that just used code in order to bring up the photo. So you're suggesting using this plugin for
Yeah, and
maybe
this just,
primarily for sidebar images?
well, yeah, really, yeah, because it's for widgets. So anything that you're going to put in a sidebar or other widget area,
That's footer.
and which you can do it with. There's an image like here, I'll pull this over. Like this is the standard image widget that just comes with WordPress now, and you can pull up any image you want to pull up and add it in here, but it doesn't give you the option to add the links and that kind of thing. It's just going to put an image in there. So I can click on add image and it'll go to my media library, and I can pick something. Okay, but that's all I can do is add that image. And the reason I like the image widget plugin, which is what this one is, clear that back out, is it just makes it easy to add a title, to go ahead and put in some alternate text for it, and then to add whatever link. So like if you have buttons, I think that's what they're still called, but if you have buttons that show you're connected to Rise Up Writers, or you're connected to Proverbs 31 or some other organization, then this is just the easiest way to do it without having to write code. I mean, there's some bits you can pull in an HTML widget and write the code. This just allows you to do it without writing code.
Okay.
So that's just one of my little, it's like, it's not a requirement, it's just a favorite that I pretty much use on any site. So let's get back to plugins. Okay.
Merri, let me ask you a question. So what I think we're doing right now is we are covering some of your favorite plugins that might be kind of the ones that people would want to consider initially. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Before we go too much into more of the plugins, I think it might be a good idea to go into some of the questions, because some of the people that are looking at WordPress aren't on WordPress yet, and they're considering switching. They're considering using .com or switching from .com to .org, trying to decide between the two, or actually switching. And so I think it might be helpful, before we go into any more of the plugins, to step back and say, what is the difference between .com and .org, and what do I need to know if I make that switch? So, for example, we had Glenise on here before you were able to get on, and one of her questions was, can my site, is it going to be live once they transfer? I'm going with SiteGround, and once they transfer me from a .com to .org, is it suddenly going to be live? Or, what are some of the things to look at between the two, and then what are the basics to understand?
Okay. So WordPress.com is what you would consider, it's really a hosting service, if you want to think of it that way. So WordPress.com or Squarespace or Wix or Blogspot, those are all hosted platforms where the host itself, meaning WordPress.com or Google if it's Blogspot, or Squarespace, they manage the platform, and they decide what you can and can't do with with your not necessarily with your content, but they decide what you can and can't do. So they control whether you're going to be able to what themes you're going to be able to use, whether you're going to be able to run ads. Of course, Blog and WordPress.com have free versions. So let's see if I can get into one of my accounts. No, who knows? We'll have to look here. Continue with Google. Hang on just a minute. See if I can't get in so I can. But they're going to control what you, what you're allowed to do, really from a design perspective and probably from an advertising perspective. So, so you've got some limits there with. So let's go to my site here. And my site doesn't really have anything on it. It's just something I use to be able to play around. They are allowing you, I mean, for a long time, there was no plugins. There wasn't anything, you could kind of do their basic stuff. And, but it's still just very limited in what you can do. There's nothing, the other downside to it is that you can, let's go look at the actual site. Unless you pay a fee, if you see up here, your site's going to have your name.wordpress.com or, whatever name you choose, .blogspot.com. If you can pay to upgrade that, but then about the amount that you pay to upgrade to make this just merridennisblog.com instead and remove that WordPress, about what you pay to upgrade is about what you'd pay for your first year of hosting at SiteGround or anywhere else. So once you're ready to start putting just about any amount of money into it, it's worth it to go ahead and upgrade to a hosted, to a self-hosted site. And to me, that's the word, that's the kind of misnomer. When you say self-hosted, you're still using a hosting service. It's just you get to choose it. So I just describe it as you yourself get to choose the host. If you're going to have a WordPress.com site, then your host is WordPress.com. But if you're going to have a self-hosted site, you can choose SiteGround or Bluehost or HostGator or lots of other companies. So you yourself are choosing the hosting service, and it's not going to be free. You're going to pay. They're going to give you a monthly price, but you're going to most of the time need to pay annually, at least for your hosting service. And there's more freedom, but then there's also more responsibility, because then if you're on a WordPress.com site, all your updates, all the back-end maintenance is all handled for you. If you move to a self-hosted site using the WordPress.org software, then you're going to be responsible for making sure everything's updated. But you can also choose different themes and add plugins that provide different functionality and that kind of thing. So let me go back to, let's go back to here and plan, because I just want to talk through these plans. So right now I'm on the free plan, which means my site has my name.wordpress.com. If you can upgrade at $4 a month, billed annually, which is about the same amount you'd pay for hosting service at the intro rate with any of the hosting companies. And that gives you, the main thing it gives you is a custom domain, meaning that removes the WordPress.com from your URL up here. So, but you can do, like I said, let's see. And then it also removes some, I guess some WordPress.com ads that they put on there. but I'll see people in the groups, well, do I upgrade to premium because I want to do this? It's like, no, don't upgrade. Don't spend the money here if you want to do, invest a little bit in your site. It's just, in terms of investing, it's much better to invest in a self-hosted site than it is to than to spend money with WordPress.com. And the other kind of difference, it's just confusing, and it stays confusing. WordPress.com is a business that is, in the business of making a profit. WordPress.org is an open source software. And open source software means that all kinds of people are contributing to the software. And so the WordPress.org software itself is free. So when you're going to pay for hosting at SiteGround or somewhere else, but you're not going to pay for the software itself. It's free. And lots and lots of the plugins are free. So if you go, and lots of things are free. If you go to WordPress.org, if you wanted to get a copy of the software to, have on your, to have available to you, you can download it free from here. And then there's hundreds of free themes, all kinds of free themes. And then this is where this is where you access all the free plugins. And usually you're going to look at these through your dashboard. So if I come back over here and I say I want to add a new plugin, you'll see that it's what it's displaying here is the same thing, the same screen or the same source as this page right here. It lets you automatically install them into your site.
And then if it doesn't, I just recently found out that some of the other plugins that people had recommended to me when I went to the website, you could download the plugin from their website. And then, Merri, if you'll point out, up by the add plugins, there's an option that says upload plugin.
Yes.
So that's a little bit more complicated, but not every plugin is in there. So, for example, when we did the Pinterest Tailwind with LaToya, she talked about Social Warfare Pro, and the basic Social Warfare plugin is available in that search, but the Pro option, which is a paid for add-on, is something that you have to upload. So they have instructions on their site, and it's a little bit more tricky. There's a few more pieces that are involved with it, but that's where you can.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's what you do. It's just really essentially the same way that you upload something to your media library. It's kind of the same. So I would say upload a plugin, and then you say choose file, and then it's going to come up with it's going to come up with your directory on your computer. So if I've got a whole folder full of plugins. So then I go to my plugins folder, and whatever plugin it's going to be a zipped, in order to upload something, it needs to be a zipped file. And then if I choose it.
Which is important, because I also found out that if you're using an Apple computer like me, with Safari, it automatically unzips the file when you download it. So I was having trouble uploading the plugin, especially for Social Warfare Pro. But so I had to go to a different browser like Google Chrome or something and make sure that it downloaded stayed as a zip and did not get unzipped.
Yeah. So that's, if you're on a Mac or any kind of Apple product, Safari's set to automatically unzip, and you don't want it to unzip. So, but here I would just click on, you know, whichever plugin I want to upload, and then I click. So then it's sitting right there, and then you click install now, and it'll tell you that it's done it, and then you click the activate button. But if you're using a free plugin, you want to make, if you're getting a free plugin, you want to make sure you get it from the WordPress repository. So from this source or from your dashboard, choose a plugin, because they're tested, and I mean there's rules that they have to follow in order to be included. And then you can also see, of course, how recently something's been updated, how many stars it has, different things like that. So, and then you can, but if I wanted to say anti-spam to see, you're going to find all kinds of, so there's Akismet, there's anti-spam bead that I use, and then there's 7 pages of all, different things that are anti-spam. So let's see.
Okay, so
what else?
I would like to, I want to make sure that we address, Natalie has a specific question about the header that she had some issues on, but before we do that, I do want to finish the plugin conversation, because I know people are still looking for their primary plugins. If any of you guys have a specific plugin that you're curious about, or a need you have on your WordPress site, and you wonder if there's a plugin out there, go ahead and put that in the chat box. But if you could kind of just highlight the favorite ones that you have.
For every site, I'm going to install, there's probably about 10 I'm going to put on there, but your main ones are security, which the most popular one is WordFence. And I have just switched to, where is it? I don't have a security plugin on here right now. So, because I'm in the process of changing over. WordFence is probably one of the most popular ones, either WordFence or Security. I have just started using a plugin called Ninja something. There's a Ninja Scanner and Ninja Firewall, which are 2 plugins that do what WordFence does. So I'll just show them to you quick here. I just learned about these, and they, to me, the setup screen kind of puts it in a little bit plainer English than WordFence does. And I mean, WordFence is excellent, so I'm nothing against that, just something new. And this one's pretty new, so it's just one that I'm trying. But security. So either WordFence, and I can put all this in a notes for y'all, but WordFence or Security or Ninja Scanner and Ninja Firewall, that are both by the same company. You want a backup plugin. I use, and I always have people tell me, but my host backs up my site. Never, never, never trust your host completely for your backups. You always want your own backup plugin, and you want to be backed up not to your host. You want to be backed up to something off-site. So either it's a file that's getting, you go download to your computer once a week, or I use Updraft Plus and back up to Dropbox. So your 4 are security, backup, Google Analytics, which I usually use Google Analytics by Monster Insights, and then Yoast SEO.
Yes.
So those are my 4. that are automatic. Then you're going to have, I mean, those are just required. And then usually I'm going to, you're going to have a contact form plugin, and then you're going to have something usually to connect your site to whichever email service provider that you're using, MailChimp or MailerLite or ConvertKit or whichever one, Mad Mimi.
So, Merri, Diane had a question about what a security plugin does for you. Like, how is this beyond what SiteGround does? For example, she says they have a SiteGround scanner that runs each week. What does a security plugin do for her?
A security plugin, it's going to, well, it does a couple of things. It's going to block logins. So there's always bots out there trying to log into your site. And if you put the notifications on, then it'll drive you crazy because you'll freak out because it's like, oh my gosh, I've had 50 logins in the last hour, or attempted logins. Well, if you get those kind of I turn those notices off so I don't have to see them, but it means it's doing its job. It's keeping bots from logging into your site. It's keeping and then other kinds of attacks that are trying to find back-end ways into your site to either insert malware or, add spam comments, different. It's like I just had somebody's site, down because for a little bit, because it had gotten hit with a bot and it had overloaded the server. So,
okay, Sherry was wondering if she bought extra security through her host, is that enough?
It depends. I mean, I just want to look and, some hosts offer some things through security. So, I mean, I'd have to look at it to see what it is before I would say what your host is offering is enough, because it depends.
What would be the key things that you're looking for? So maybe they can do a search on their own. Yeah,
you're just making sure, like, let's install WordFence real quick and I'll just show you.
What they, because that'll say like what they cover as far what they're securing, right?
Yeah, it's going to show you. So you're going to have, the basic WordFence is it allows you to scan your site, and it can do some automatic scanning and then send you a notice to let you know if there's plugins that need to be updated, or themes that need to be updated, or if it's found some sort of issue. So let's go here to WordFence. And over here on the side. So WordFence dashboard. Okay. So I've had it on here before, so that's why it's already telling me that it's got some stuff. So 3 issues found in the most recent scan, and probably those 3 issues are just the fact that I need to update some plugins. Yeah, so this is just telling me that these plugins need to be upgraded. But the other thing it'll watch for is potential malware on your server, meaning code that's gotten injected into your site. Someone, because most of the time we're on shared servers, so even if someone doesn't get into the back end of your site, they could get into the back end of somebody else's site that's on the same shared hosting account. and you could end up with malware. So that's one of the things this that WordFence or any other security is going to do, is going to check to see if any changes have been made to like your core WordPress files or your theme files. So it knows what they're supposed to look like. And if a change has been made, it'll notify you. And sometimes those are legit, but a lot of times they're not. So let's just go to options here so you can see the basics of what you want to be looking for. So there's just some, let's see.
I was thinking maybe the details for WordFence would just kind of highlight, like it did the other one that you were looking at, the Ninja Scanner.
Yeah, so customizations. So it allows you to hide the word print, what version you have. Disable, like this is one of the blocks, disable code execution for your uploads directory. You go, huh? What your uploads directory is where your images are on your site or on your server. If someone wanted to hack your site, what they can upload would be something that ends a file that's an executable, meaning like if you've downloaded software or an application to your computer, you'll see that most of the time the extension, it ends in exe, meaning when you click on it, it's going to start running and doing something. And so this prevents any kind of files that are executables that could, start messing with your site to, those can't get uploaded to that directory. Let's see. And then firewall options. A lot of it, what you want to do is brute force protection, meaning how many times a login could be attempted before the person or the bot gets logged out, gets blocked. You can do the same thing with like here with forgotten password attempts. And sometimes, how many, how often or how frequent, how many times could someone try a password and still, and still get in. But then you've got some things, make sure everybody, most of the time it's just you, but if you've got a site where you've got multiple people, multiple contributors, you want all of those contributors to have a strong password. Let's see.
Diane asked if it's worth upgrading to the pro version of WordFence.
No. I've never had a need to have anybody upgrade to the pro version. So it's like, I don't use the pro version of Yoast. I don't use the pro version of WordFence. The basic, the basic free one has worked fine. Like this, you can, you can enable, more frequent scanning. It's more, protecting against additional spam. If you've got a larger, any site can get hit. Bots are out there. It doesn't matter which one they're looking for. But like you can scan, like here, I can choose to scan theme files. Like if I'm using a free theme that I got from WordPress.org, I can tell it to include in the scan, scan it against what's currently available. So I make sure that nothing inadvertently has gotten, interjected in my theme files. And then the same thing with plugin files. So it's mostly just watching for malware and malicious code that might have gotten added to your the files on your server, and then it's protecting you from spam, not spam necessarily spam, but from login, somebody trying to hack into your site. That's what that's what your security plugin is going to do. Because cleaning up malware is a big old, I've done it, and it's a big old pain. You have to go through, your site files, file by file, and clean out the crud that's been inserted in those files. So it takes a while. Usually it's worth it, to pay security $200 to clean it up for you, because it's about. But so what you want to do is prevent that from happening, and a good security plugin will do that. Let's see. What have I answered questions there? What other questions do we have?
Well, I want to make sure that we talk about Natalie's question for the image, and maybe just spend a couple minutes on it. If we can't figure that out right away, then I told her that we could also look at her screen later, because it seems like a quirky issue, not something that applies to everybody. But she has a .org site, and she was set out in the boonies, and she added a header image with a widget, and then when she came back, there was...
Oh, and then it disappeared or something.
Yeah, she tried...
So what's her...
And it didn't change anything.
So what's her site?
Will you type that into the chat, Natalie?
Yeah, tell me what we're looking at, and I'll... So we'll see.
It's in the chat. Oh, it's Natalie, Natlie. Oh, there she goes. Sent to everybody now.
Okay. Okay, so... Okay, is this what it's supposed to look like? That's the question. Okay, so if it's not appearing this way on your computer screen,
hang on. I think if I understand what's happening correctly is, so now she only has one image. She deleted the second one, but she deleted it, but she actually wants to change this header and put a different one, but she can't delete that one because she deleted one and this one is still showing up, but she can't figure out how it's still there.
Okay, well, let me look at...
If I understand that correctly, Natalie.
Okay, so...
No widget.
Okay, so what I've done, what I'm using is, I'm in Chrome, and I'm using, I right click just pretty much almost anywhere on your page, and then you click inspect, and that pulls up these tools over here. We're going to look at, so here's, and then you can kind of look through the pieces and the containers or little locations on your site. Okay, so here's your image. That may be, let's see if that's in the, so it won't let you delete this, it keeps showing up. Is that what we're dealing with?
Natalie, if you want to put your audio on, feel free and explain it to her. my understanding is that she used a widget to add the header, and there's no widget there anymore because she deleted it, but the picture's still there.
Okay. And it's
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can? Okay. So what was your question?
So I'm just trying to figure, because it looks like it might, to me, it's more part of your theme, but it may not, it may not be.
I think it wasn't at one time. It wasn't. I built that page using Site Origin Page Builder.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of constructed it one little widget at a time.
Okay.
And one day our internet was having some trouble and everything quit. And when I came back, I had 2 of that same exact widget.
Yeah.
So I deleted it. I thought, okay, well, I can just start over. And I deleted the widget and one of the images went away. But the image that you see now is still there, but there's no supporting widget that it's living on. So
okay, because I'm over here looking at the code. So it's a header image is getting called for in the CSS. So I'm looking at for browsers that support ObjectFit. And Natalie, what I may need to do is just be able, log into the back of your site and poke around for a minute.
Okay.
It's not necessarily right this minute, but your code has, your CSS has place for all of these things to exist. And so there might be something, even though you've built something, I'm kind of betting that there's a page template that exists somewhere that is still calling for, that if you don't have something else in that location, it's going to automatically put this in it, is what I'm kind of thinking.
That makes a lot of sense. I probably just got really confused when all of a sudden there were 2 during that day. So I can check that out.
But kind of look, because like I said, I'm looking at the code here, and it's, because it's saying header image, it's calling for this specific image. Okay. Signature header.ping is the file that it's looking at. So that's in your media library. That's the address that it's looking for. So, and it's calling for it in the CSS. So, so I would go, that's what I always, it's like I tell, just go poke around and see what else you see. And if something doesn't make sense, tag me in the group or tag me on Messenger, and I'll log in and take a look.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Merri. Appreciate that. Okay, so 2 totally different things. Let's go with Sherry first, with the PHP question that you had. Sherry, did you already get that resolved? And feel free to put your audio on as well if you want.
I haven't tried it yet. Merri just said to contact my host company, and that makes sense. I just haven't, and they've done stuff for me before.
Who's your host?
Bluehost.
Yeah. Well, I'll wrinkle my nose. And it's not just Bluehost. There's lots of them. They usually even on Bluehost, they ought to go ahead and upgrade you. My preferred host for a newbie is going to be SiteGround. If you're running, if you've built a site and you've got some traffic, once you're hitting 75,000, page views a month plus, then SiteGround's not going to be your best source, the steps you would need to go up there. You would, I'm sending most people to a company called Big Scoots. So and so if you've got a higher traffic site, then and then I just had them help me move. Oh my goodness, it was huge. It's somebody that's been, an author and been blogging for 7 or 8 years. And so there was just tons and tons. Yeah. And Dan, isn't it Dan? Dan at Fist Bump is wonderful. I mean, he's been around. And then I think the other one that I've heard really good things about, I haven't used them, but I know people who have, is Mom Webs, I think is what it is. Let me go look. And so it's, momwebs.com. I don't know. Alyssa Avant is a friend of mine, and VA, and been doing this stuff for 10 years, and that's who she uses. So you want somebody that's not going to BS you. I mean, I guess is the, to put it really bluntly. And HostGator and Bluehost, HostGator and Bluehost are essentially the same company. And and if you're not having any problems with Bluehost, I'm not going to tell you to move, but immediately, but when the time comes that it's time to renew, or you start having trouble and they start giving you a bunch of BS and telling you that it's your fault or something to do with your site, 95% of the time it's not. And
okay.
So
they've been fine so far. My only problem with them is figuring out how to contact them. I feel like it's just not an easy find.
No, and but you can chat. I way prefer chat over talking to anybody. And so, and you can find their chat button. It just takes a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I always just chat, but it takes me a while to find their button.
So, and they know what their reputation is. And so, I think I've heard there's been some improvement in terms of their tech support folks, but they're just, they are owned by a company called EIG, and EIG buys hosting companies that have been decent and makes them not decent anymore. So
interesting.
That's, and they've done it. It's like a Small Orange was like a great company 2 or 3, several years ago. And they, anytime somebody gets bought out, then their customer service goes down. A lot of the companies like HostGator, I know, and Bluehost, a lot of them are running on older servers. And so they can't even run the latest, greatest PHP. PHP is the computer language that WordPress is written in, and so you want your hosting server running on the latest PHP, and if you're running anything below 5.6 something, it's not even supported anymore. Mm-hmm. So in terms of like updates and that kind of thing. So that just makes you, a server that's running on anything older just makes you there's more potential for hacks or somebody getting in because it's older, and there's places, there's ways to exploit it and hack and get in. So,
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. But
Okay.
Bluehost ought to be able to update you to I don't, I was working with somebody the other day and they were on they wouldn't upgrade somebody to 7 unless we, upgraded their plan. And I'm like, no, I think we'll just move. That it's like we shouldn't have to pay extra for, current software. So who else had a question?
Thank you, Merri. First, Natalie got her thing worked out. So
Good, yay.
Yes, very happy about that. And so we have questions from Lynn and Lisa who are not here, which I'm going to ask in just a minute. But before I do, you had a plugin called WP GDPR Fix. Is that something that you think would help people who are overwhelmed by the GDPR stuff? Or is that just add confusion?
It's a paid, that's why I bought it. It's a paid plugin that I bought in order to be able to easily offer GDPR updates to people. To me, it's overkill. I can show it to you.
Yeah, just maybe briefly. I don't want to overwhelm anybody because I know that the whole GDPR thing is super overwhelming.
It just gives you, now what's it? Hang on. Okay. It gives you some generic content that you can plug into some of these things. Most of this stuff is already available. To me, your two main things for GDPR compliance is you want to have a privacy policy, which you needed to have one anyway. And so, and the privacy policy that WordPress gives you a bit of a template for is perfectly fine. There's some out there and I paid for a couple of legal versions from an attorney just because this is the business that I'm in and I wanted to have a good understanding of what all the ins and outs are. But, and then there's some US laws that say you need to have a privacy policy. So have a privacy policy. And I can give you some links to some places you can go and look at them. And then almost every site is using cookies, even if you don't realize that you are. So, and cookies are just any kind of little tags that ads on your site, Google Analytics on your site it's just tracking people's behavior. So it's you go to shop at, on the Target site and the next 3 sites you go to, you get a Target ad. Well, those are cookies following you around, as you surf around. And then the other part of GDPR is, quote, the right to be forgotten. And WordPress has already included the tools for that. So with the latest update. So if someone, if you had someone request, what data do you have on me? You can use tools and export personal data and send it to them. And you're not going to have anybody do this, but if you do, then here it is. And then that person has the right to request that data be deleted. And so WordPress has already put those tools in place to allow you to do that.
Okay, so that would be the information that WordPress keeps, not your separate mail provider, but
yeah. And then on your mail provider, the main issue there is to be very clear about what you're going to do with their name and what you're going to send them. So, of course, most of us have been offering some kind of freebie, Let me show you what I did. Let me see if I've got Karen's. I think I'd see if I changed the wording on her site. A lot of, we've had something like her site. This is somebody's site I worked on, and all she's doing is sending weekly emails. She's not offering a freebie. So there's not any need to make any changes here, specifically. It's just being very clear about what you're doing, because all of us that are in the online world, we pretty much understand if you give somebody your email address, they're going to send you stuff. Well, people that are just people and site visitors and not bloggers or anybody in the, functioning and working in the online space, they sign up for a freebie and they think they're just signing up for a freebie. And then all of a sudden they're getting, 10 emails a week from somebody. So you just need to be very clear about what it is you're, what it is you're going to send to people. So I was trying to look at, I can't remember. I just worked on like 3 or 4 people's sites. So, I can't remember which ones that I ended up changing the compliance. Yeah, hers is just subscribe for updates. But to me, what I've done on a couple of people's sites is I've just, in the phrase, like if we were going to send them a freebie, subscribe to receive, regular updates or weekly updates along with your free copy of da-da-da. So, and if you're not targeting people in the EU, then it's not, you need to put the standard, just kind of basic stuff in place, but then not worry about it.
Okay.
So sorry, long answer to that question.
Yeah, we have, if you guys have questions on GDPR, I also have a full PDF printout it's 5 pages, but it's simple. It's all bullet points highlighting what GDPR is, what are the key things to look for, and what changes to consider making, like the main ones, and then additional ones, and what I'm doing, and other links and more information. So it's just to help you kind of make your own decisions about what you're going to do for GDPR stuff. I decided to make a few changes because I do have people all across the world that read my main blog, but I'm also not becoming overwhelmed with the pieces that I don't fully understand yet. I'm just taking it bit by bit.
I mean, so, I've read all 63 pages of it, so,
Goodness. Oh my goodness.
But I needed, for me, it's like I needed to have a better understanding of what it was, what it was about. So
that makes sense. Okay. Well, Sherry had a question about using a font in her theme. Do you want to ask that question?
I just have tried to change the font in my theme, and I can't figure out how to do that. I looked under appearances, and so I wonder if that's what's the word, embedded in the theme itself.
I'll show you. Some themes, like the theme I'm using, if you go to Appearance and Customize, this is a paid theme. And so if you can change something through the customizer with your theme, you'll see it in the customizer menu.
Okay.
So we'll see if mine comes up. And so like I have this whole, because of the theme that I'm using, I've got lots of options.
Okay.
So it'll say typography or it'll say fonts, and this actually gives me access to like all the Google fonts and all that kind of thing. But let me show you, if you don't have that available, if your particular theme doesn't include that, I'm going to show you a couple of things. One, this is, it looks scary. It's not scary. This is your style.css.
Okay.
And this is the your two main files that make your theme function are the functions.php. Never edit that in this through your site, through your browser. Never ever edit that through your site browser. You can edit it, but you want to edit it from your through your hosting service, through your cPanel and file manager, because one wrong keystroke in the functions PHP file and your site goes down. So, and I've done that a few times. So, but your CSS file, style.css, not that you couldn't break your site with it, but you're not going to break your site with your style, usually editing this. But I just want to show you where stuff is. So let's go back up here. So like here's, so you're going to look for, let me see if I can get it to work. So that's all, because of the kind of theme this is, that's the only thing that's going to show up here is font family. Let me go to another site real quick, just so I can give you a better example of what I'm talking about. Oh, hang on. So here we're going to go to the editor and style CSS and font family, maybe. Okay, so here, so typographical elements, so is a section of your style.css file. So here's what the body font is for this site. And so there's the name, you know, so this is a Google font. There's the name of the font. So you could come in and edit, like, and then here's the other font that I'm using for, like, these are content. Here's the font that I'm using for that. So you could come in and edit these, you know, change these out if you need to.
Okay.
So, and you have to do you have to make some edits in your functions PHP file too, to tell it which fonts you're going to add. But there's some pretty decent tutorials about how to do that. And it's really better to do it this way than it is to try to use a plugin for Google Fonts. Yeah, and
really.
But if you have, I mean, if it's something straightforward, you know, I want to change 2 fonts, I can look at your code and then I can give you the code and tell you how to do it. So without you having to pay, you know, without you having to pay me to do it. So, because I mean, a font change, most of the time, I mean, it's two lines of code. So, and 2 lines of code is less than 20 minutes, and less than 20 minutes is free. If it's more than 20 minutes, then it's not free anymore. But so.
That is good to know. I'm glad you shared that with us, so that if you guys need further help with WordPress, you can contact Merri for specific help too.
Yeah, send me a note in Messenger or come join my Facebook group, because I'm in there answering questions, and I've got 2 or 3 other people that, kind of that are coders and know what they're doing. So.
Okay. Well,
what else? What other questions?
The other questions that I notice here from Lynn and Lisa are similar, because Lisa asked, how can you discern if followers are not spam? And I'm not sure if that's referring to RSS followers. And then Lynn's question is that when she publishes a blog post, it goes out to her subscribers. It comes through the standard WordPress format, she thinks. And she doesn't really like it because it looks so basic, and she wants to change how readers see it or use another format. She wondered if there was a plugin that did that. So can you tell followers spam, and then about the email layout, what people get automatically for signing up? Or for followers?
So let's, I'm trying. I answered a little bit. Let me go to.
Using Akismet will help keep spam commenters out. For sure.
Akismet will help keep spam away. Let me go. I'm trying to think where to go, if we can go look. Jetpack. And this is how I answered it. Usually if somebody uses the term followers, then they are talking about followers who have subscribed just to their RSS feed, usually via the Jetpack plugin.
Can you show us what that looks like?
Does that make sense?
Can you show us what that looks like, so that if somebody
let
doesn't
me
even
go
know
to,
if they have followers, where they can even find them? Because I know people have asked me that before. They're like, I don't know. I think I have some followers, but I don't even know how they're getting there. Or
So if you started on WordPress.com, or if you use Jetpack and connect your site to it, maybe it's site stats. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Okay, totals, let's see. Followers. Okay, so followers are usually a term that's connected to Jetpack. So people who follow your blog. If someone is has a WordPress.com account and they click follow your blog, then they're going to get the latest post from your blog in just in their WordPress.com feed. So like if I go click on blogs I follow, she's only following she's following sites, so I can click on, and you can, and then, so it's just a way to view all the posts from a particular, from sites that you follow. And the problem with, the reason I don't like it is because, here, let's go back here. You don't get their email address. And the key to everything in the online world is being able to get somebody's email address. So I think we found, so here's what I'm trying to find to show you. If you go here and you had people regularly subscribing to your site, if they're if they have a WordPress.com account, and that account and they're logged into it, if they click follow on your site, they're going to automatically just follow you this way. You're not going to capture their email address. Now, she doesn't have any in her email-only followers anymore. But if they're not a WordPress.com account user, or they don't have, or they're not logged in, then you would get their email address. But I'm expecting someone that's asking about, wanting their RSS feed to look differently. You want to set up an RSS feed through MailChimp or MailerLite or somebody, and then that gives you some more control over the formatting.
Yeah, so I think that with WordPress, if you just get followers and email followers that way, which a lot of people do initially, but you don't, I don't think there's any ability to change what they get. They're just going to get what WordPress sends out. And the RSS feed, for anybody who doesn't know, is just the feed of the actual blog post. Once they're posted, it triggers a send out to your subscribers. And so I have a few people, I think, that do get an automatic update when my blog goes live, but they're usually also email subscribers. And so, Lynn, I'm guessing that that's what you have right now. And I have a video, I don't know if I uploaded it yet to the new Rise Up Writers YouTube site, but that shows you how to set up an RSS feed. Super easy, either in MailerLite or MailChimp. And so the other question I think ties to this too, Merri, is how can you discern if followers are spam or not spam? So if we're talking about WordPress.com followers, you don't know if they're actually spam accounts, right?
Yeah, and they're probably. If they're through WordPress.com, then they're not. They're. Their follower. You can look, but you can look at them and you can see. So if they're a WordPress.com follower, you can see what their site is. They have a site with the domain and everything. And if they're email followers, you can see what their email address is. The other comment that I made is in response to that question on the site, on your Facebook group, is that if you start getting a whole bunch of people subscribing, then you get a notice about new subscribers, new users, and you haven't set, and you don't have anything going on in MailChimp or MailerLite. If you're just getting notices from WordPress that people have subscribed, it's because they're signing up as users of your site, and that 99% of the time is spam. So where you go to turn that off is settings and general. And you want to make sure that this box is not checked. If you have anyone can register and that box is checked, then every bot or any person that visits your site can register. Now, they can't do anything. They can't do anything. Sorry, the dogs are growling. But you don't want people register, unless you have a membership site or you're allowing people access to pages as a subscriber as opposed to just having a password protected section, then you don't want people subscribing to your site.
Yeah, I used S2 Member for a little while, and I had hundreds every day signing up.
Yeah. So,
yeah. She had said kind of what I was asking before, switching from .com to self-hosted. She installed her theme. She imported old photos. Now what? And so we talked about the basic plugins to get started, just to make sure that it's secure. Is there anything else that you would suggest she set up now that she's on a self-hosted site? And Merri, share your contact info, please, in the group chat.
Yeah, so the basics are your settings, and I've got some of this kind of in process on my site of basics what to do here. So, and you want to go through and set up your, decide what, whether you want to approve comments. Usually you do. So you would go, it's settings, and then discussion would be a setting you want to look at and make decisions about. And then the other setting is your permalinks. And your permalink is the URL that shows up for posts and pages. And when you first install WordPress, it's going to automatically be set to plain, which is not SEO or Google friendly. So most of the time you want it set to post name. If you're coming over from WordPress.com, you possibly have the date included in your URL. And if you do and you want to change it to post name, then you're going to have to set up some redirects. If it's, if you have a whole bunch of content or a bunch of, followers and pins out there. But this is the most Google friendly, SEO friendly way to do things is the post name.
You might want to address redirects because one gal also is going to be moving this summer, and she has a lot of pins on Pinterest, and she was wondering about having to change the URLs in Pinterest, or I'm thinking that maybe a redirect structure, something in WordPress is the easiest way to go.
You do. You're going to want to do a redirect. Usually what I do is, and this is what I've done when I've been updating people from HTTP to HTTPS, and the plugin, once you've got your but pretty much the same process is going to work for switching over. If you're going to change domains, you want to update your database. So let me go. I may not have it on here. Let me go see. The plugin I like to use is called, and I'll just go find it and show it to you. It's called Better Search Replace. And you want someone to you want to have good backups if you're doing any of this. So that's the but Better Search Replace lets you update your URLs, and it'll go through. WordPress is made up of really two parts. It's made up of your WordPress software files, plus theme and plugin files, and your images. Those are all in, like I call, one part of WordPress. And then the other part, which is all your content, meaning anything text, is in your database. And also in the database is all the URLs. So like those permalinks that I just showed you that show, mydomain.com/RiseUpWriters, tutorial, if I had that phrase all lined out. Well, if I'm going to change it to mynewdomain.com/RiseUpWriters tutorial, then I'm going to need to go through and my database and replace mydomain.com with mynewdomain.com. So that's what you're going to do with this Better Search and Replace. That's what it does. And it makes it's simple and straightforward. You back up your database before you do it. So if something blows up, you have I back up everything, back it up another time, and then and then do what you need to do. So I think it'll show you here in the screenshots. That's what you do. You search for your old domain name and you replace it with the new domain name is how the process works. And then and then you can go in and update. There's another step to this to update your htaccess file, or you can use a 301 direct. There's a couple of really good redirect plugins that do the same thing. So that way, anybody that comes to your site and the redirect for some reason didn't, the update didn't happen within your database. I may be too confusing here, but I'll put some notes out there about that. I would use this plugin and then a 301 redirect plugin, and it just it writes some code out to your files in order to keep everything directed and going where you want it to get in the people where they
take a screenshot of those two plugins with the content that you're like putting in an example of what you would put in those boxes. That would be fantastic.
Okay.
It would be super helpful, I think.
I will do that because it's like I need to do that on this site. This is one of my sites that I need to do some stuff on. So I'll make those changes on that site and then give you some screenshots so you know what to do.
That'd be great. Thank you. Okay, so Natalie, I forgot her question. She wanted to know if you recommend a plugin for reducing pixel sizes for images.
Yes. The very best thing to do is to reduce it before you upload it. And you don't want, and the rule is,
I think Natalie don't want
What?
I'm sorry. If Natalie wanted to ask directly, go ahead if you wanted to clarify anything, Natalie.
No, I think that was pretty clear. Otherwise, besides the fact I have a hard time figuring out how to reduce them before I upload them.
Okay. What you use is this great little, there's two sites that are the same company, Tiny Ping and Tiny JPEG.
Okay.
So, well, and it looks like they're interchangeable, but so you just upload your image. Let me go find something real quick here. I was trying to find something that's big or that's a decent size that you could see it. Let's do it the quicker way. Okay, so here's some sort of JPEG file. Okay, yeah, Bible story file. So here's a JPEG file. It is 1.45 meg, and then it's 2,000 by 1425 pixels. Okay, so I'm going to insert that file into here. I even get confetti. How fun is that? So you can see, so it's 1.5 meg. You don't want to upload a 1.5 meg file to your media library if you can help it. Okay, so it's cut it more than in half. Okay, so it's compressed it. Okay. So it's not just the dimensions. You could reduce this to half the dimensions and it still be a big old file. So what you want to do is compress it. So it compressed it, saved us 64%, and then you just download, the file again. It's going back into the same folder, so it's adding the little 1 to it. But then you can, so it's this, so we could both of those files. If I go here and look at these files, download folder. So here they are. So let's do it by name. Maybe. So here they are. So here's the, so there's one, that's the original, that's the copy. And so the image quality is going to stay the same, but my file size is, less than half. So then I would rename this to the appropriate SEO keyword. This is Gideon threshing and the angel of the Lord coming to speak to him. Anyway, but I would rename it and then upload that one. And then TinyPing has a plugin that it'll do 100 a month for free. And then there's another one, and I'm not gonna.
I'm using Hummingbird.
There's
WP Smush or a couple things to compress images.
Yeah, I like what's the other one I'm just using on somebody's site? Like Short Pixel. I have to look. It's a little red robot, little red and blue robot. Let me see if this is the right one. Yeah, this is it. Short Pixel is the other one that has a free version in that you can get in WordPress from the repository. And but then you can also, if you had a whole bunch of files on your site, their pricing is really low. So if you needed to do more than 100 a month, or you had a bunch of older stuff that you wanted to get resized, you can, you can buy a little package price and have it do a whole bunch of them all at one time. So, I had somebody's site that, like 3/4 of the files were 3 or 4 meg. So, we paid, he paid the money and we crunched a bunch of his stuff. So you don't want to, when you can, you want your, you want your image dimensions to be no larger than the, largest display size on your site. And then you want your images to be compressed. So those are your 2 keys there.
Okay, I think that all the questions that we had, and this was a lot of really good content. I'm going to try to summarize it in the email, some of the key points to all the subscribers, and then I don't know that I'll have the video edited. I'm going to try to also gray out some of the personal information on the video before I put it up there. Oh, yes, and we wanted to get Merri's contact information. Can you type that in for us, Merri?
Okay, I can type that.
And I'll also put it in the email.
Let's see if I can find the little box. Where is?
Click on chat.
I'm looking for chat. There it is. Okay, so my site is wptechcafe.com, and then the let's see, and then the Facebook group is the same name. It's just all kind of run together like that. So that's the Facebook group that you're welcome to join me in. And then email, I still just use Gmail for everything. So that's my email.
Fantastic.
So I have my service prices and stuff on the website, on my website. And then, but then I'm always happy to, answer questions or, point you to a, good tutorial. If I know of a good tutorial for something, I'll point you there if you want to want to do it a little bit on your own. I'm a very good Googler. So a lot of times, I can find something, a better source for you on how to do something quicker than, you can find it. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a researcher myself, so that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking all this time with us to help. I hope that has helped clear some things up for people and maybe make it feel a little bit less scary to do WordPress.org if you're considering that. I know that it looks like a lot of things, but the good news is that you can also take your time. You can start off with something really simple and build as you go and build as you know. So just, starting with the simple.
My motto is slow and steady. So you just, one step at a time. It's, there's a lot of pieces and parts, but you don't have to do it all. You really, like Jolene said, you don't have to do it all at one time. You just one little bit at a time.
Yes. Great. Okay. If you want to, I'm just going to wrap us up in a quick prayer and then let you get back to all your work, and I'll get back to working on the new Rise Up Writers site.
Okay. Sounds good.
Just a reminder for everybody, the next one that we're working on is self-publishing, and I'm also looking at podcasting in the future. Someone suggested YouTube, so if you guys have other ideas for Zoom calls, let me know. And Father, I just thank you so much for bringing different people in our path that can help us with the different aspects of a writer's life. And technology is a piece that we deal with in this age, and I thank you that we have that ability to reach other people through a blog and through these sites that can be customized and bring so much content to other people. I just pray that you would help our hearts as anybody who feels overwhelmed right now, that you would help them to just take some deep breaths and remember they don't have to know this all at once. And we thank you for Merri and for her heart to share this information and to help other bloggers and taking the time to do so. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, you guys have a fantastic rest of the day, and I'll be getting the content out to you via email as soon as possible.
Sounds great.
All right. Take care.
Okay.